So in the previous two classes, two parts, this is actually a very simple verse. But what we are doing here is trying to understand the different personalities who were present in the army of Duryodhana, who were fighting against the Pandavas. So we are getting into the details of little stories of these different personalities. So we looked at Bhishma Deva, Bhurishrava, Somadatta, Ashwathama, Lakshmana, so many of these personalities, some of them just little tips, some of them few stories, one story on them. So this time over on part 3, we are going to look at Jayadratha, who's also one of the contemporaries of the Pandavas. So Jayadratha was basically a competitor to the Pandavas even during the Swayamvara of Draupadi. So they lost it, and already Jayadratha was very upset that Draupadi was taken away by the Pandavas. So now again, during the Kamyaka forest, when the Pandavas were in the forest and Jayadratha was passing by the Kamyaka forest, he saw Draupadi and his interest in Draupadi again was brought back. So what he did, he sent a messenger to Draupadi to inform about the glories of Jayadratha. So the messenger went and spoke so much glories of Jayadratha and said, why don't you leave these poor Pandavas and come to Jayadratha, because he is a very rich king and he'll keep you very happy. So Draupadi asked him to go tell Jayadratha to leave her alone. So this really annoys Jayadratha and he comes and kidnaps Draupadi. So then after he's taken her away, the Pandavas just come back from hunting and then they get to know that Draupadi has been taken away. So Nakula, Sahadeva, Bhima and Arjuna immediately rushed towards rescuing her. So once they had caught up with Jayadratha and rescued her, they brought Jayadratha back to Yudhishthira. But Yudhishthira and Draupadi forgive them and they let him go. But then Bhima is not very happy about it. So he says, I'm going to shave his head. So for a man, for a Kshatriya especially, when the crown is taken away, when the head is shaven, it is a big disrespect. So Jayadratha feels extremely disrespected and he immediately goes and performs meditation, penance to please Lord Shiva. Once Lord Shiva gets pleased, he gets the boon of being able to kill the Pandavas. But Lord Shiva says, I can give you the boon of you being able to finish or control Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula and Sahadeva, but I cannot give you a boon to fight against Arjuna and win over him. So then with this boon, he was pretty happy. He said, okay, fair enough. And then this he uses later in the Kurukṣetra war. We will see how he uses it. Another boon that he has is that his father had blessed him that a person trying to chop his head and make his head fall to the ground, that person's head would be burst into 100 pieces. So this was a boon that was given to Jayadratha by his father, King Kurukṣetra. So he told his son, my dear son, whoever tries to chop your head off and make it fall on the ground, his own head will burst into 100 pieces. Whoever is the cause for your head to fall on the ground. And after that, he enthrones him as a king and he goes for meditation. So now he has two boons. So how did he use the boon that he got from Lord Shiva? In the battlefield of Kurukṣetra, he was responsible for Abhimanyu's Chakravyuha. So when all of them were fighting against Abhimanyu, it was Jayadratha who held Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula and Sahadeva, who wanted to get into the Chakravyuha and fight to relieve Abhimanyu. So this made them kill Abhimanyu, and Arjuna was extremely angry. So Arjuna took a vow that he will kill Jayadratha before sunset, or if he fails to do so, he will kill himself. This was a vow that he took. Now, as soon as Jayadratha knew about this vow, he immediately said, I'm going to quit this war and I'm going to go back to my kingdom. But then Karna, Shakuni, everybody said, why would you go back? We have an entire Kaurava army and we are going to put all of them to protect you. We will create a beautiful array tomorrow, a military array, in a way that Arjuna, whatever he does, he will not be able to pass through the array and reach you. So then Jayadratha said, okay, fine, we will go with this. So the next day there was a beautiful military array, so difficult for anyone to pass through. And so Krishna drove the chariot so skillfully that he was driving through the array beautifully, and Arjuna was finishing people and he was fighting very skillfully as well. But still they could not reach Jayadratha, and it was time for sunset almost. So what Krishna does is he brings clouds in front of the sun and he makes it as if the sun has gone down, the sun has set. So now the entire Kaurava army becomes extremely happy, and they are all rejoicing, and hence the array gets broken and Jayadratha comes out. And at this point, Krishna moves the clouds out and the sun comes again, and immediately by the instruction of Krishna, Arjuna chops his head in such a way that his head, after getting chopped, flies straight onto the lap of his father, King Kurukṣetra, who was sitting on meditation. And when he woke up from his meditation and he got up, the head fell down from his lap. And because he was the reason for the head to fall on the ground, his own head got burst into 100 pieces. So this was a small, quick rundown on Jayadratha. So Arjuna, seeing this, Jayadratha is also standing in front of me. Ashwatthama is also standing in front of me. These are my contemporaries whom I have had dealings with before. Why would I fight against him? So it is shown clearly that Jayadratha was not good with Pandavas. He has tried to abduct his wife. He has done so many awful things. And still Arjuna has got that compassion for people who are standing against him, although they haven't ever thought good for the Pandavas. And then there were also well-wishers. Then he talks about Shwashuran. So in Hindi we say Sasur. So Sasur is father-in-law. So exactly, it's probably a little bit of twist from the Sanskrit word Shwashuran. So it says Shwashuran means even people like father-in-laws are standing there against him to fight, fathers-in-law. And then Shwashuran Suhridaschaiva, Suhrit. Who is Suhrit? Suhrit means well-wisher. So then people like his well-wishers. So there are some examples given by the Acharyas, which is Bhagadatta and Kritavarma. So Bhagadatta was a friend of Pandu, and later he was also a friend of Yudhishthira. And in spite of all the friendship that he had with the Pandavas, he chose to join Duryodhana's army, and later he was killed by Arjuna in the battle of Kurukṣetra. And then Kritavarma. Kritavarma was in fact in the court of Yudhishthira, and after that he joins Duryodhana. And he also is one of the people who lights fire to the camp, thinking that he is lighting fire to that tent where the 5 Pandavas were sleeping. But unfortunately, it were the sleeping sons of the Pandavas, not the Pandavas themselves. So this is how Kritavarma, although being a well-wisher, later turned out to be doing very evil things towards the Pandavas. So these were the well-wishers. So now, apart from this, Tatha, Tatha also includes lot more friends and relatives of Pandavas that Arjuna could see against him in the army. So the shloka again. Tatra pashyat statan partha pitran ataf pitamahan acharyan matulan bratran putran pautran sakhim statha shwashuran suhridaschaiva senayor ubhayor api. So he is seeing tatra apashyat, stithan, situated, Partha, Arjuna, he saw. Who all he saw? Pitran, father, Atha, also Pitamaha, grandfather, Acharyan, teachers, Matulan, maternal uncles, and Bhratran, brothers, Putran, sons, Pautran, grandsons, Sakhim, friends or contemporaries, Shwashuran, fathers-in-law, Suhrud, Suhrudashcheva, also people like well-wishers, Cha Eva, and all. So all of these people who were friends and relatives, Senayor Ubhayor Api. In between the two armies, he's standing there and he is watching on the other side. That's this verse. Hare Krishna.